to a new video, guys. It's another video, but it's actually the day after I left off the last one. Hopefully you're excited to see what's going on with the Sequential. Running off 3 hours sleep, but we're eager to make some more progress tonight. We did finally get that box in after a mission, as you would have seen, but things seem to be going pretty well for me today, and we're up to where we should have been last night. Everything's pretty much finalized with the gearbox side of things. So as you can see, she's looking race car as heck. God, that powder coating really transformed this whole setup. I've gone through and Loctited everything with a shifter rod. In case I didn't mention in the last video, I Loctited everything to do with that throwout bearing and everything else there. So we should be good. Now, of course, as you know, we normally put the Martini Smurf Blight in everything. Over this gearbox, I was told 1 oil and 1 oil only, which was the Motul 75 140. We're not gonna take any chances mixing that up. So we've gone ahead and thrown that in. These gearboxes actually have 2 fill holes, one at the back, one at the side. There's basically a series of plates in the box, so you actually gotta make sure the oil gets across all of them. So we took that plug out to start with, filled it up from there until the oil came out from here, and then topped it back up till it came out there, which was about 2.5 liters or just a touch over. By the time we got this in yesterday, it was like, yeah, 2 AM or something like that, by the time we all finished up. So we were pretty loopy, so I've gone through and double checked all the bolts and the angle and level of the motor and all that sort of stuff that we had to worry about yesterday. So that is all A-okay. Clutch line's all hooked up, put our P-clip there to make it nice and neat. I've actually gravity bled that already, but when Chris comes down to give us a hand, we'll bleed that up properly. And we've got our breather line going up to behind the brake booster. I've also made sure I've cable tied all the wiring there to make sure it cannot interfere with the steering shaft. O2 sensors back in. Everything on the motor is pretty much ready for a fire. Rocker cover is off, as you can see. We've already poured 5 liters of beautiful Sid 60 Martini racing oil in there. It's gonna take a bit more than that, but we've started with 5 liters. As it's dry this time, normally I always just drain the sump, leave the cooler, because this gets changed very regularly. I'm not worried about it. But this time, everything has been apart, so it's probably gonna take a bit more. We're gonna crank this thing through. That's why the rocker cover is off too. We're gonna make sure we get oil pressure up to the head. That means our bottom end rebuild was all good. Once we've cranked it over a bit, confirm we've got oil pressure, and we can assume the oil cool's all filled up and the filters, we'll recheck the oil with a dipstick, top it up, and then our beautiful purple rocker cover can go on there with some new genuine rocker cover gaskets. And I think we're getting to that sort of time where we might be able to fire this thing up, make sure the motor's gonna run. Obviously, I'm not hooking up cooler piping or anything like that for now. I just need to make sure this thing is gonna run. In typical fashion, I've still got to get up at 5 o'clock tomorrow to go to Winton to work. I really need to sleep at some point, guys. I'm trying to make as much progress as I can. I know I will not rest while I'm away for the weekend working if we haven't got to this point of the motor starting and the gearbox going through gears. So that has been my goal, and that is why I've been pushing so hard right now, because we're gonna only have a couple of days when I get back to get this thing absolutely dialed. Because of course, if you don't know already, we're heading to round 2 of Drift Collective in Tasmania. I am so excited to go down there. All the boys are coming across and on the boat. It's gonna be a hell of a journey. I think we're camping at the track with the boys, and that's gonna be a party. So yeah, we're not missing this one. We gotta get it down there. Huge thank you to everyone that's helped me get this far as it is. It's been a few late nights here, and a lot of people come down to help me out. So special mentions being Lincoln, Chris, and Jay. And of course, I've got to thank my sponsors, including Clive, who's done all the powder coating, and Burson Auto Parts. This trip would not be possible without them. Again, I am super stoked to have them on board this year, and I'm pumped to see what we can do in the future. And assuming this all goes well, which you know it will, we're gonna make it happen. This thing is gonna be a ripper down in Tasmania, and I cannot wait. Tassie's also got one of the sickest backy corners I've seen, and everyone's told me I've got to go there, so yeah, it's not part of the layout we're running, but we know we're going to be throwing down some backies on the return roads. Anyway guys, Chris is about to be here, hopefully bringing me a coffee to keep me going, keep me alive. We're going to bleed that clutch up, crank the motor over, and let's get into it. Keen. Keen. Keen, Chris is here. An absolute legend not only brought me a coffee, but brought me dinner. What a mad dog. So, I'm gonna fill up on that, and then we're gonna get into it. All right, I've hooked the battery up. Gonna turn our ignition on now. Oop. And our battery isolator. Hopefully, we'll have the fuel pumps prime, make sure we got no leaks, and go from there. Oop, wipers tried to go. We've got indicators too, yep, all right. So, have we got fuel pressure on the gauge? Yeah. Yep. No? Really? None at all? Ooh, I can't remember if I left the fuses out from when I accidentally exploded E85 everywhere. No fuses! That'll do it 60% of the time, every time. Got the power. Now let's see.
see fuel pressure.
Oh yeah, I heard fuel pumps. I'll do it again. Cool. Alright, no leaks, no nothing. That's a good start. Well, we've got no coil plugs or anything, so we shouldn't be able to fire. Cam angle sensor, just in case it's trying to put fuel in or anything dumb. Don't think it can. Would you mind cranking it, Mr. Chris? We're in neutral right now, so. It's gonna pump through like all the lines, so. Yeah, and I can't remember how dry the oil pump or anything would have gotten, so. And send it again. Should have put the charger on today. Getting worried there for a while. Had to go jump start off one of the workers here's car that left it here, so we ran out of battery. Then we were worried we still weren't getting oil pressure, so we pulled it off the oil cooler and still struggled. Let it charge up for a bit, and once the motor was actually turning fast enough, we finally got oil out of here. So next we'll check it comes back up the head, but we should be all good. It did take quite a number of evolutions, but again, it is very, very dry motor, and I did have a quick Google, and apparently it's pretty common. So let's put this back on, check that, and then move on. Let's go, baby. Stop. We'll let it charge up a bit again. Get some more speed back in her.
Charged.
Losing, that's not charging. I heard shucking noises. Oh yeah, baby, that's what we're looking for. Cool. A1. Smigo, we have oil pressure. We are winning. I'm gonna go grab the rocker cover from upstairs where I've been keeping it tucked away so I don't damage it. And we'll get all that on there. And we've got a couple other things to set up on the gearbox which I'll run through because there's a little bit different. We can't just put a stick in it and bang it into gear. We've got to set up the shift stops to make sure we can't overthrow the shifter mechanism and damage the gearbox or like the rocker mechanism on top of the box. So we'll get the rocker cover on there, get inside the car and set that up. And it is a two-person job. So basically I'm going to get Chris to turn the output shaft of the gearbox to make sure it's going all the way in gear. And then I'll show you in the car, but there's a little stop to make sure that we're not overthrowing it. So anyway, that is a good news. We're making progress tonight. Much better than last night. Let's go. Time is 9, guys. Next up, I'm going to go in there and pump the clutch, and we're going to get Chris to finish bleeding that off. It's gravity bled, so there's fluid through it all the way now, and I can already feel the pedal, which is nice. We'll get that sorted so it's 100% bled, and then we'll show you setting up the shift stops, which is pretty basic as well. And then we should be ready to fire this thing up and maybe run through some gears. Got a pretty cool tail shaft to show you too. Alright, let's do things. You guys are about to see the most exciting part of Sequential, the shifter. But yeah, as you would have seen at Lazaro, you might have seen this together, but this is the first time it is completely together. Got a few things in there, but we have our shifter. Let's see, we're so race car now. Race Works, GK Tech Hydro, Samsung Sequential. Are you ready?
Ah damn.
Ah damn. So with the clutch we're running, it's super important not to have our throw-out bearing overthrow the clutch fingers when it's disengaging. There's nothing to stop them basically going into the disc and destroying stuff. So a pedal stop is critical. So right now I'm barely pushing the clutch all the way down just to bleed it up, but we know we've got a good pedal. And what we're gonna do is, once it's in gear, I'm going to slowly push on the clutch. And as Chris is trying to turn the output shaft, once it spins freely, we know that that's where the clutch point is disengaged, and we're gonna set up a pedal stop just after that. So we know we're not gonna have any issues. Somehow, I lost the 5L. Of course, we needed a new tail shaft, so we hit up the absolute legends at GJ Drivelines in Keysborough. Anthony and Matt down there turned this over stupid quick for me, so I'm super appreciative of that. We would have been in trouble otherwise, and let's unbox this thing, because from what I've been told, we've built a pretty damn badass tail shaft. What it's all about. Alright. Oh, now I don't want to cut anything. that's a mean shaft right there. So we've got the full billet yoke, I think 1350 unis, basically like a 108mm CV style flange. But they basically said that what they've spec'd this to is what they run in like 1200 horsepower drag Falcons. So lots of weight, lots of grip and stupid power. So I think we'll be having a good time with this thing, and if we can break it, I just don't think we'll break it. And hopefully my measurement's right and it goes in. That would be a good thing to start with. That tail shaft looked frickin' spicy. The whole underneath my car needs to be like undercoated now because God, it looks so good under there and it makes everything else look bad, but still, I'm keen. And we're about to do the first start of this guy. Whew. It may not run well. One, it's like literally a fresh motor and it's E85 and it's quite cold right now, but I've also changed the cam timing. I can't remember if I mentioned that. So it may not run 100%, but you should start and run. Oh well, either way, motor turned over and ran. We'll figure out the tuning situation. Oh! Whoa. Another day, guys. We're sitting in the 13, about to get this thing fired up. Now, the other day, I thought that the engine wasn't starting because the cam timing, we'd advanced that gear, and I knew it would throw out the ignition timing a bit because the CAS reference is off there. However, I played around with that today, and I don't have a timing light, so I was just changing our trigger offset in the ECU, going up about 6 to 8 degrees and going back 6 to 8 degrees to see if it would want to start. Didn't seem to make any difference at all, and I just happened to notice that our engine coolant temperature sensor was always showing 100 degrees for whatever reason. And unplugging that and plugging it back in, it got a signal, and now she basically starts. I haven't got the timing right, so it doesn't idle very well, but you can very clearly tell she sounds healthy. That is good news, guys. So what I'm actually going to do now, because we need to bang this thing into gear for the first time, but before I do that, I need to make sure I can get into reverse. So I've got to set up a reverse lockout. So essentially this gearbox can go from first to sixth and back down the first, but it will not let you go back into neutral, which means basically you're never at chance of losing drive to the wheels or accidentally going past first. So to get neutral and reverse, you've got this little lever here, which is rubber band tied at the moment, but we're gonna run our cable up through there. So I'll pop under the car and show you what we're gonna do. I can't get over this whole driveline setup. It looks insane. I never thought you could call a drive shaft a piece of artwork, but man, I can see why GJ are the best in the business. Just the finish, welds and everything on it are like top notch, and our nice billet yoke there. Going beautifully with our Sequentials. Oh, still feels weird to say we've got a Sequential Sequential in our race car now, so that's freaking wild. And all the awesome fab work done by Elijah, and the powder coating that topped it all off from Clive. I'm sure it's obvious to you guys, but man, it pays to have some awesome people around me to help me do the things that I want to do and to get our quality of work up to the next level. So I am so pumped on how it's turning out. And we are super close to getting this thing to bang in the gear for the first time, and I cannot wait. We're almost there. So this is our reverse lockout cable I was talking about. So as you can see, we can't exactly leave it like that, just dangling there freely and going up through the hole, rubbing against the metal. So we've got to do something to protect it and make sure it's still going to work. After talking to a couple of people, including Elijah, we came up with the idea to run our Teflon braided line over the top. We can also P-clip this into place on the tunnel so it's out of the way, and it should give the protection we need whilst allowing the wire to slide up and down. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cut to length, set our lockout, and we should be able to bang this thing into gear for the first time. All going well, which, you know, everything's been flying on by. Yeah. Everything going on well with that. We're just going to piece together a lot of stuff on the front of the motor. We've got our power steering pump, and obviously do all our radiator and everything else. But we're getting there, and hopefully we'll be able to maybe even see this thing drive today. I've got to get it up onto the aligner. Group is just chilling. And we're going to set up all our coilovers, because obviously I changed the camber tops and stuff like that, so we've got GK Tech tops in it now. Try and pull some camber out from last time. and if we can get all that done today, then I'm in a good shape to make it to Tassie. Because it's been a bit stressful at the moment. There's been a lot going on, and I've been flat out with work as well. But we're 3 days away, basically, from heading off. And on Tuesday, I'm gonna get down to Rob. He's gonna wire in all those sensors we talked about earlier and get this thing re-dyno tuned. I've also got to drop all the oil after that before we go to Tassie because of course it is a fresh motor and we are gonna wear those bearings and stuff in. So I'm gonna get that cable done, cut up, and I'll see you guys back in the car where we're setting it up. Sorry I'm not filming much of what I'm doing. It's a bit more of an update thing at the moment. We are running out of time and I've got a lot to do, including aligning my mate's S13, Danny Pezek. Gotta get that sorted for him tonight as well. But our shifter release cable, or reverse lockout, or whatever you want to call it, is done. I'll put a bit of heat shrink on the end of that to make sure it doesn't fray open. We've got our P-clip in there. Might riv nut and bolt that later on, but for now it's just tech screwed in. It didn't quite go through the normal shifter hole. It was crushed it as I shifted into gear, so we've drilled a hole right in front of it, and it's going through nice and neatly. And now I'll show you inside. Now I haven't actually set up the positioning of it yet, but it's all run the way it needs to, so I'm going to be working out exactly where to put the grub screw in. We basically just want to make sure that it can fully release it without going too far. We don't want to be able to stretch or snap the cable if we overpull it ever. So, our hole there drilled in front of the shifter hole there. And our braid coming out here. I'll get the light on for you. I've actually got the Teflon from inside the line going up there and bottoming out. And then this just stops underneath. And I'll heat shrink that too. That fitting right there should be nice and neat once my cable length is set. But we can now go ahead and actuate this and you can definitely know it's fully releasing. So we'll get that set up now. This work, it has, I don't know. And after an insane amount of work over the last couple of weeks, we will be ready to bang this thing in the gear for the first time. Moment of truth here. Kind of nervous. We'll see if the car idles and gets running. It's got no coolant at the moment, so I'm not going to be able to run it for very long. Cooper's very excited, aren't you, boy? Yeah. Watch out, Coops. Boom. Alright, car doesn't run very well, so it's definitely not going to let me keep the revs up while I'm shifting into gears, but the transmission rotated everything, so that's a good start. And yeah, our lockout and everything's working, so I'll finish getting all this bottomed up and then I've finished getting all the intercooler pipes and radiator and all that stuff done so I can bleed it properly. And yeah, I guess our first proper test of banging this thing through gears is gonna be driving it off this hoist. We planned it very, very well. So we're street driving over there. We haven't booked any accommodation. We're camping at the racetrack, and we're winging it on Sunday. Hey?
Camping in the garages?
Yeah, we're camping in the garages.
Half accommodation.
Yeah, yeah.
We have accommodation for 2 out of 3 nights.
It's true. We're pretty well sorted. I didn't even book a cabin. He booked the cabin for the thing over, so that's smarter.
Yeah, for the boat.
Yeah. Who would have thought it was a like 12-hour trip? Overnight.
I didn't even know. I just booked the cabin. I'm like, oh, I don't reckon the others I'm going with will like the recliners.
Yeah.
And I found out it was 12-hour boat ride or trip. So I'm like, yeah, it's probably a good idea.
No. Oh, hell yeah. Anyway, I have no idea where this video is going to wrap up, but in case it does, thanks for tuning in, and I'm super keen, and I'm sure you guys are too, to see how this sequential goes on track, and see as our trip down into Tasmania should be a lot of fun. So, yeah, cheers for tuning in. Danny says bye.
Ciao.